Every great marketer has been faced with this moment, an opportunity to exhibit bravery in the midst of uncertainty, or to take a risk on something they truly believed in. The Brave Marketer podcast features today's most progressive marketers and uncovers the brave marketing moments that have shaped their careers and the brands they've influenced. Hosted by Brave Software and Never Stop Marketing, and me, your host, Donnie DeVoren. Together we'll discover the decision-making process and mindset work that led to their success. You're listening to the second episode of the Brave Marketer podcast. We're excited and grateful to be back in your ears again this week. It was awesome to hear everyone's feedback about our inaugural episode with Israel Mirsky, who, as you may recall, developed the brand decision framework to aid their clients in creating more alignment between their business operations and the brand values they want to stand by. Really a great conversation, and if you haven't listened to it yet, be sure to give it a listen. After this one, of course. We're going to be producing 10 episodes as part of Season 1, the Brave Marketer podcast. And before I introduce you to guest number 2, we wanted to highlight our own Brave Pick of the Week. This week, we're going to feature Mini Cooper. This is one of the first times that Brave is running an auto manufacturer on our sponsored image, which is our homepage takeover. So keep a lookout for other great auto brands coming up on the browser. Now, for this week's episode, you'll meet Duncan Bird. Duncan is the Vice President of Brand Marketing and Digital at Fiverr, responsible for creating game-changing ideas and strategies that use technology to tell stories worth knowing. In his 30-year career, he has worked at agencies including BBH, BBDO, and Anomaly, where he worked on brands such as Adidas, Budweiser, Coca-Cola, Nike, Sephora, T-Mobile, and the New York Yankees. Duncan has been one of the top 10 people in advertising by The Independent, and appeared on Campaign Magazine's Marketing A-List. Most recently, Duncan was responsible for managing the execution of a major ad spend for Fiverr. If you turned into the third quarter of the 2021 Super Bowl, you may have caught Fiverr's ad, Opportunity Knocks. The new ad spot is an evolution of Fiverr's recently launched ad campaign, It Starts Here, which features small businesses as they navigate digital transformation. I could only imagine how much of a production this was to pull off, not to mention the investment, which we'll talk about. We're grateful to hear the story and impact directly from Duncan himself in today's episode. This podcast series is brought to you by Brave, a privacy-respecting browser that actually rewards you for your attention. A fun fact about Brave browser is that it uses 35% less battery on mobile than other browsers such as Chrome. Duncan, you ran in the Super Bowl this past season. What sparked this idea to do a Super Bowl ad?
Well, we've been incredibly humbled this year seeing how Fiverr has been able to help so many people during the pandemic. As we help people to find work through freelance jobs on our platform and help small businesses and helping people survive through these difficult times, we started to see some tremendous growth, which, as I said, was very humbling for us. And our decision to create a Super Bowl ad has always been part of our plan. We've been talking about it for a few years now as an option that we wanted to do. But we've seen such tremendous growth that it accelerated our decision to become a first-time Super Bowl advertiser this year.
Got it. And so what were some of the conversations internally? Was it ever proposed before and then shot down? And then how was it, different this year?
No, I don't think that it was shot down. I think what one needs to do is when you look at your overall marketing budget and your marketing plans, it's a very significant investment. So one needs to be confident that the business is in a place where that level of investment makes sense for the business, for the growth, and where our business is at right now in the North American market. And obviously we're a global company. Our business has reached a point where it was appropriate for us to use such a huge mass marketing tool as the Super Bowl.
And could you do much measurement from the ad? Did you measure ROI?
Yeah, it's been very successful. And really our objective in doing it is to create further awareness. We've got great awareness in North America. We wanted to increase that awareness and increase consideration for people in North America. And yeah, it's really helped. But obviously when you're doing things around brand marketing, it's not always just about the immediate ROI. It's about creating that knowledge of the brand being there as and when that brand potentially becomes relevant to a potential purchaser.
Got it. And so if another brand's listening and they're considering a Super Bowl ad, were there any type of measurement tools that you set up or considered to actually measure the brand's lift or the brand awareness pre and post?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on a particular brand's business. You know, if you look at what Reddit did, it's very different to what we were doing. They were coming off the back of a moment where they had been talked about a lot. So I don't think it was necessarily about driving awareness, but inserting themselves into a cultural conversation. So I think it really depends on what your brand is trying to achieve. So yeah, things like pre and post awareness are important. Looking at Google searches and how many people have been watching the ad offline, as in not part of the Super Bowl, are all really important measures. And various other measures, which, you know, that a lot of what we do as a company, we're very data driven. There's a lot that I could talk about, but I'm a little reluctant to share all of our measurement techniques, other than I think every brand needs to look at it from their own objectives are.
So for the listeners who haven't seen the actual Super Bowl ad, can you describe it and then how you all got aligned around this specific idea?
So I think for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'd go to Google, type in Fiverr Super Bowl ad, and then it'll come up. Put this podcast on pause and watch it. I can describe it. I probably won't do it justice. Our ad features the owner of Four Seasons Total Landscaping, who came to fame last year when Rudy Giuliani held a press conference in front of their premises in Philadelphia. And there's been a documentary made about this. And it was, in the words of the head of marketing at Twitter, the most memeable moment of 2020. And so we decided that what had happened to their business really matched with what we do as a company. And the owner, Marie Saravo, pivoted her business and started selling merchandise, and it went through the roof. So our ad features the very famous front door to Four Seasons Total Landscaping in Philadelphia. And then the front door where the press conference was held rolls up, and we see Marie driving in a very futuristic looking vehicle through what has become an incredible growth story of a company that's gone from just doing landscaping to doing a whole bunch of other stuff in a very futuristic kind of biodome meets Willy Wonka world, where there's all sorts of craziness going on there. And Marie is making it all happen and is in charge of it and is getting lots of services through Fiverr. So it's a very, very over the top, very funny, but very relevant story. And then behind the story is the fact that the services that you see in the ad were created by sellers on Fiverr. And then we did another version of the ad, which is like a behind the scenes, which explains exactly how we help transform her business by giving her a new website, marketing, social insights, logo, designs for merchandise.
I saw it a couple times, and you described it extremely well. And this is all about, brave moments. Was everybody aligned on this idea, or did someone have to stick their neck out and say, hey, we should run with this?
Anything worth doing in advertising comes with an inherent risk. If you try and remove all risks, you'll end up with a very kind of 101 basic approach to advertising. So obviously we were taking a number of risks, but because what had happened to Marie's business fits with what we were doing anyway, before we decided to do the Super Bowl, we had started advertising in the US on television, featuring a number of businesses in the Nashville area where we helped them to take them from being in an offline world to an online world during the pandemic. One was a furniture business, one was a food business, and one was a restaurant. And those ads featured the actual business owners and what we were doing for them. So in a sense, what we did with Four Seasons Total Landscaping was an evolution of a campaign we were already running, which we call It Starts Here. And what we added on top of it was leaning into this amazing, incredible, bizarre cultural moment that happened in the United States in November. And we brought it to life in a similar way through a Super Bowl lens. And as anyone who's watched the Super Bowl and has enjoyed Super Bowl ads, you know that you can't just run a regular ad in the Super Bowl and expect people to take notice. You need to entertain, you need to make people laugh. Well, there are other approaches too, but we felt particularly in this year having a form of entertainment and humor was really appropriate. And, we thought very long and hard about the upsides of doing that versus what a lot of advertisers do, which is partner with a celebrity and then have the celebrity talk about your product and hope that people will remember your ad because of that. I don't want to name names, but there was a bunch of ads featuring famous comedians and singers and actors. And I think the challenge with those ads is not that they weren't funny and not that they weren't interesting, but can anyone remember which brands they were for? And I would wager it's much harder, the bigger the celebrity, for the brand, particularly when you're a newcomer to the Super Bowl like us, that the brand gets remembered in that. What people remember is Will Ferrell or Bruce Springsteen or Wayne's World.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they remember that it was funny. They remember the characters in it. But then when you say, what brand was that for? They're like, I don't remember. Was it Doritos? I don't know.
That's risky.
Yes.
We made Marie into a celebrity through this story, really.
Right.
But the normal approach to a Super Bowl ad is, who's the celebrity we could get to tell the story about Fiverr transforms businesses? And we could have been really talked about in the Super Bowl, which we were, but people would probably remember insert celebrity name there and not Fiverr.
Yeah. And how much was cost a consideration? I'm sure you saved a lot of money by not going with a celebrity. So there's the cost to produce it, there's the cost to actually run it, and then it sounds like talent wasn't as much. Can you give any indication of how much it cost or how you budgeted or anything related to the cost?
If you're going into the Super Bowl, you've already made a multi-million-dollar decision. And if you're taking part in it, the production side of it is obviously a huge consideration. We're very mindful of doing things on budget, but using a celebrity or not was not a financial consideration. It was an impact and memorability consideration. And you can see from watching our ad, we built and created a very elaborate and over-the-top world, which isn't cheap.
Yeah, there's a lot of different mini scenes in production that you could see in there. It wasn't just somebody walking through a standard warehouse. And I've seen so many times where people do just run their regular commercials during the Super Bowl, and it's just such a wah-wah. You just, come on, you put some effort into the ad. This is the Super Bowl. Don't just run the same ad that I saw on a TV show a week ago.
The counterpoint to that, though, is if you can do a great ad in the Super Bowl, why not do great ads all the time?
Why can't every commercial be like a Super Bowl ad, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it should be.
Well, because it costs a lot of money, because the production cost is high, and you don't know if it's going to succeed or not.
I know, but what I'm getting at is that during the rest of the year, you mentioned Doritos. I stick with Doritos. Why not do things always that are really impactful and really creative that don't necessarily need a celebrity or need to be in the Super Bowl? What I see is brands, it's almost like prom night. They put on their best outfit, and then the rest of the year, they're going back to wearing a T-shirt and sweatpants.
That's exactly right. Well, it takes money, it takes effort, but it takes creativity. It's not easy to come up with a Super Bowl-like idea 24/7, or 365, I should say. But it's a good point. I agree with you. I don't think enough time and effort is put into the production side. And I also see there's like the media house side of the house and the creative side of the house, and they're not always talking to each other. There's always opportunities to use, certain creative units on certain media platforms in a different way and make it customized for that platform. And you don't see that a lot either. Sometimes they're just taking that same display ad, that 300 by 250, or that idea or that concept, and they're just trying to run it everywhere and they're not customizing it.
Exactly. It's one of the biggest challenges in all marketing, and particularly in advertising, that we see more and more messages per day, and that's gone up dramatically in the last 10 to 20 years. And what that means is that if you're seeing more and more stuff, the stuff needs to be memorable and impactful. What I see happening in advertising and marketing generally is a dumbing down of the effort that people put into making things memorable and interesting. On the one hand, it's slightly depressing, but on the other hand, if you have a brand, and we are one of those brands, I'm very proud that we're one of those brands, that does things and creates things that are relevant and interesting and inform people in incredible, entertaining or rewarding ways, then it just works better.
Do you think that the pandemic and the fact that, we've been quarantined earlier this year has an impact on the amount of effort or the creativity or production that are going into advertising right now?
I think for some brands, I think it has really improved the way in which people think about their tone of voice and their approach. And for other brands, I got to admit, I see so much stuff which I just think is just lazy. So most stuff I see has phrases like, in these difficult times, or we know how you feel. And at the beginning of the pandemic, yeah, I get that. But we're a year into it now. Everybody knows what's going on. You don't need to remind people what's happening out there.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point because I think brands are trying to be very sensitive. So if they don't say in these difficult times and they just put their message out there, it could backfire and say, wow, they're not respecting what's going on out there. They're just doing their regular messaging. Like nothing is unique going on in our world. So I see both sides.
Yeah, no, but I think that beyond just saying in these difficult times, it's a brand's responsibility to put a message out there that's saying, because of what's happening out there, here's what we're doing differently. Like I saw an Amazon ad recently, which had a shot of an Amazon plane with Amazon branding. And instead of trying to sell Amazon as a service, what they were talking about was all of the amazing things they've been doing to help move vaccines around, to feed people, to yada, yada. They've done a bunch of great stuff. And they weren't saying spend more money on Amazon. They were really saying, here's some of the things that we've been doing. And they are a brand which definitely divides people. I think John Oliver put it brilliantly in one of his shows where he talked about the different practices that Amazon have and how, as a user, you can either ignore those things or kind of accept that it's not always a rosy picture, the effect that Amazon has on the retail industry. But at the end of his show, he did a spoof ad about saying something like, Amazon, try not to think about it, as in, to think about the fact that you're using it. And it's a real challenge for their brand. So seeing them not just saying, oh, we know we're in this with you, but here are some of the things that we're doing to help.
Yeah. It's taking a huge leap and not just talking the talk, walking the walk. They're actually supporting, you in the difficult times, not just saying that they're supporting you. So I agree. So switching gears out of the Super Bowl, just to bring it a little bit higher level, what do you think is the biggest threat or one of the most pressing challenges facing the marketing and advertising industry right now? And how are you guys responding over at Fiverr?
I just think one of the biggest challenges is not just repeating the same messages over and over again and sticking masks on people. Mm-hmm. For us, we've really doubled down on our brand purpose over the last year. And our brand purpose is essentially about leveling the playing field for people. So our purpose is about helping anyone to build their business, their brand, or their dream. So no matter where you are, who you are, or what you're trying to do, our purpose is to help both people who are trying to sell their services and people who want to buy services. So for us, it's been really about focusing our attention on helping rather than necessarily selling.
I love it. Is that the biggest opportunity right now? Is there another big opportunity in marketing that you can think of?
I mean, I've been in this industry over 30 years now, and I think the challenge remains the same. It's about being memorable, it's about being engaging, and it's about being creative in your approach. As I said a moment ago, we've got access to so many different channels, much more than ever before. So it's important to stick to the channels that best represent your brand and feel the most relevant to you, and how you use them to create memorable moments that transform your business. The challenge hasn't changed. There's just many different ways in which you can communicate now.
And besides the Super Bowl ad, what are some other ways that Fiverr is doing that?
We launched a documentary recently. While we were filming our campaign down in Nashville, we realized one of the businesses, Slim and Huskies, was more than just a pizza company. It was a community hub for that community. And we started to hear some fascinating and frankly shocking stories about this community in North Nashville, which the zip code for North Nashville, unfortunately, has the largest school to prison incarceration rate in North America, which is shocking. And we uncovered the fact that there's a group down there in that neighborhood called the Gideon's Army, who do a lot of work to try and help reverse that trend, to try and stop young people in particular coming off the wrong side of the tracks and getting involved in crime. And these were amazing people. So we decided to tell the story, to shine a light and invest some of our marketing dollars into helping Gideon's Army. And we've made a documentary about it, which we launched a few weeks ago. It's extremely moving. If you go to your Google browser again and type in Out North, Fiverr, it will come up and probably direct you to Vox, who we partnered with to launch the documentary. And it's a fascinating story. Now, instead of us trying to sell anything, which we're not, we're trying to shine a light on a neighborhood and help. And that's a very different approach to the Super Bowl or to TV advertising. It's a completely different way of thinking about what is our purpose, what are we trying to do, and how can we help this neighborhood without inserting ourselves and our platform into the conversation, which is obviously the temptation of any marketing executive, is to say, how do I use this airtime to sell? There's no selling in it. It's just presented by Fiverr and tells an amazing, moving story of giving hope, hoping that by shining a light on this topic, we can affect some great change in a neighborhood that's going through some terrible times.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like a common theme in this podcast right now is brand purpose. And how do you do things where you're not selling, but you're just doing? And the Amazon example was great. This one that you gave us just now is another good example of that. I think it's really smart not to sound like I'm selling, but the only change that I would give to your last sentence, instead of using your Google or Chrome browser to do that search, just use the Brave browser to do that.
There you go.
That's my little pun. So to wrap us up, 2 more questions. This is all about being brave. And in your 30-year career, finish the sentence. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't.
I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't stopped confusing movement with progress. So one of my bosses convinced me of this and helped me to focus on the things that really matter. I think in life, and particularly in a job like advertising and marketing, it's very easy to confuse appearing to do a lot of things with actually doing things that make a difference. I think once that light bulb went on in my head that movement is not necessarily progress, that I started to focus on the things that were really going to make a difference and the ideas that were really worth fighting for and making sure they happen. So I think I definitely would not be where I am today if I'd have carried on chasing movement versus progress.
I love that. I come from the sales world, so everything is about outcomes, and the progress and is so measurable because you have sales figures. And if you do a lot of movement, but there's no sales, it's the wrong movement.
You're obviously very good at it because you just inserted your brand name into what I was talking about. So well done.
Thanks. My last question to you is, can you nominate another marketer? Who do you consider to be a brave marketer?
I would like to nominate someone I've known for many years, a gentleman called John Nolan. He's the managing director of Apex Content Ventures at Publicis Media. He has, over his career, transformed the way people think about media and television. He worked on the very first branded TV channel, Audi TV, which was, when it launched, it was pre-internet. It was so forward-thinking. And he does stuff now globally in the world of content, which would be fascinating to your listeners. So if you can get John Nolan, I would recommend it. And he loves doing podcasts.
We will reach out. Well, any last words for our listeners today?
Definitely be brave in your marketing. And by the sounds of it, don't Google things, use Brave.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning into the second episode of the Brave Marketer podcast. As you heard, we talked a lot about brand purpose and Duncan sharing the Super Bowl ad and the risks and how he was brave. And so hopefully you're able to take away some brave moments to be a little bit riskier in your job. And upcoming, we have 8 more episodes to go in the season and look forward to being in your ears again next Monday. In the meantime, if you have a brand, product, or service that you'd like to get in front of a valuable audience, consider Brave, the world's first global ad platform built on privacy. And you can visit brave.com and look for the advertising section up on top. Email us at adsales@brave.com and let us know you're a podcast listener and we'll see what we can do for you.